How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and as you can see, we're back at it talking about the Amazings. And folks, we have a lot of content that's been rolling out already as a breaking news that transpired earlier, which has to do with, yes, Mauricio will likely be out for the majority, if not all, of the 2024 calendar season after tearing his ACL. We went live earlier. Make sure to check that out in case you haven't already. So now the question lies, what is next for this Mets team after having a vital injury to a top young talent who's expected to have quite the impact on the club for 2024 and beyond? Well, recent reports have indicated exactly what the Mets are planning to do, and this goes directly in hand with what I was saying in the live show, something that I'm happy about at least, and that is the following from Will Salmon of The Athletic, who's been doing a phenomenal job on the beat here for the Mets, says the following. After Mauricio's injury, torn ACL, the Mets' expectation here is that they will be looking for external help at the third base position, at least some capacity. Brett Baty, Mark Vientos still loom as options. So I want to see your initial reactions, thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns down below in the comments, because for me, I'm happy about this. Of course, I'm really distraught and heartbroken by the news of Mauricio, but what I'm not distraught about is the potential fill-ins for guys that can come in as a third baseman, not an everyday guy per se, because Andy Martino reaffirmed today the Mets will be in the market for short-term options. Do not get your hopes up on a Matt Chapman, in which I was never really in favor of. Chapman, as elite of a glove as he is, has been quite Jekyll and Hyde with his bat, and is going to be a big overpay to whoever lands him this offseason, as someone who's already hit his peak in his career, and someone that I do not expect to age and profile well longer term in his contract, whatever he's going to get to wherever he's going to land. So for the Mets here, you look at these rental options, there's two guys that pop in my mind right away. I want to shout out to my respective viewers, including John in the live show earlier, who made a great point about Gio Urshela. So we're highlighting both Justin Turner and Gio Urshela as potential fits for this Mets third base position to help them out with the youngsters in both Brett Baty and also there in Mark Vientos alike. But also keep in mind that these guys could help you beyond just the third base position when it comes to leadership, veteran in the locker room, but also helping out the DH spot, which is why someone like Justin Turner is so appealing. But let's start out with JT. Let's talk about the potential reunion. We've talked about Justin Turner at great length since we started the YouTube channel. My first offseason covering the club, the Mets were linked to Turner. Then he ended up not going to the Mets. He went back to the Dodgers at that time. And JT, since leaving the Mets a decade plus ago, has been one of the most consistent bats in all of baseball. In case you've been living under a rock, JT has been pretty good. He's been pretty good for a while now. In his age 39 season heading into next year, I thought he turned 40 on Thanksgiving. I was wrong. It's right around 39. But JT, no less, has still been killing it. His one and only year in Boston, playing plenty in the DH position, first base, and had a handful of games there at third base, but not too many. This is why JT, if you bring him in, makes a lot of sense, more so as a DH fit than he would be a third baseman. He could play third base every now and then, but not a guy that you want comfortably in the hot corner at this point in his career. Put up another very respectable season in his first year and only year with Boston, most likely. 23 home runs, 96 RBIs, 4 stolen bags for a 276 average, a 345 OBP, a 455 slug for right around an 800 OPS. Turner has been truly one of the best hitters in baseball for the past decade. His ability to still catch up to the fastball at his age is truly remarkable. Had a shaky start to the season, but in the second half was one of the best hitters in baseball there in Boston. A 114 WRC plus, which means he's 14% better than the average batter in baseball. And why do I love the idea of Justin Turner now, given these current circumstances, as a short-term fit? He is the exact type of guy you would love to help be a veteran leader for the likes of Brett Baty, Mark Vientos in the hot corner, can handle DH without a problem, would help provide power and consistency, a true nice balance of both power and contact behind Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor in this lineup. It would certainly help deepen things. Would a long time rekindle that relationship between himself and the Mets, in which a lot has changed since he parted ways with the Sandy Alderson Ram Mets all those years ago. He has been not only an everyday player, but truly, again, one of the best in his position for a long period of time. Doesn't only have championship experience to help back him. My former co-host and good friend of mine, Anthony Recker, has spoken so highly of JT as well over the years. I just can't get enough of how strong Turner has been with the bat year after year after year. We know it's going to fall off at some point, and it would be the least bit shocking if it ends up happening with the Mets, because that tends to be our luck. However, Justin Turner, a guy where you could utilize more so DH than third base, but throw him in the corner if need be. You could give Alonso a day's rest at first base every now and then too. You get creative with Justin Turner, and that's what I like about him, because while he isn't great defensively, he has infield diversity, which helps his chances here, and certainly would make a lot of sense for the Mets now to check off the box of having a veteran that can come in the hot corner if need be. If, say, Brett Baty really falters, Mark Vientos profiles best as a DH. We certainly know that Mets at this point. And then B, when Mauricio returns, or if, say, Brett Baty truly steps up and these guys prove that they should be the everyday hot corner guys, then that's where it even makes further sense to have Justin Turner as your primary DH, something that I think a lot of fans as a short-term option would certainly like to help bring a boost and a contact ability to this lineup that has been in desperate need of a power bat like Justin Turner for the past number of years now, even on the shorter end. But now let's get into Gio Urshela, because he's a really interesting fit for me. For those that don't know Gio Urshela, he has been a veteran in the game for a bit now, only 32 years of age, but there are some really appealing aspects about Urshela's game that I like, and it starts with the obvious. He can handle his own defensively. He has been, throughout his career, pretty much a plus defender, coming off of, only 60 or so games this past year with the Halos, dealing with ailments and inconsistencies, 228 play appearances, 22 runs scored, 2 home runs, 24 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. What do I like, though? High contact, 229. Jesus, I cannot talk today. I apologize, guys. A 299 average, a 329 OBP, and a 374 slug. So the OPS isn't great. However, throughout his career is a 277 hitter, a 322 OBP, and a 423 slug for around a 740 OPS guy. And Gio Urshela, what he can bring is a couple things. One, it's stability at the hot corner. Should Brett Baty, should Mark Vientos, and down the road, if Mauricio returns this year, should they all falter, you can have sustainability on the defensive end with Urshela that can handle third base fine. He can play second base a little bit. He's had his reps at short. He's had his reps at first base. You can DH him even though he doesn't have the power along with him. But what is really appealing to me about Urshela is a couple things. One, he would rekindle that relationship in which he had that long-standing relationship with Francisco Lindor during their time in Cleveland for a couple of years. He would rekindle that relationship with Mets' new hire at third base coach, because he was the third base coach for the past decade plus in Cleveland under Tito. Would rekindle that relationship again. You would be looking at solid defense there between short and third base for however many games Urshela would play at the third base position. Rekindling that relationship with the coach certainly doesn't hurt, and he just checks off a lot of boxes for a guy that on a short-term, not everyday role type fit. Again, a utility, really an upgrade over Joey Wendell, if you will, but someone especially that you can use at third base more comfortably than any other option you currently have in the organization. That is what makes someone like Gio Urshela so appealing. He puts the ball in play a lot. He gets on base at a pretty solid clip as well. And if we look, he's just a year removed from being, a 119 WRC plus, which means he's 19% better than the average batter in baseball. In 2019 and 2020 with the Yanks, he was looking around a 130 to 134 WRC plus. So he's shown those flashes. We have certainly seen that. And a guy that isn't going to play every day can be very creative in his role and how he's utilized, and also rekindles that relationship with Carlos Mendoza during their time with the Bronx. There are just a lot of reasons as to why someone like Urshela does make sense for the Mets and what they're looking for, which is a short-term third base fit, a guy that is not going to play the hot corner every day, but again, can help pave the way for the youngsters and Baty, Vientos alike. And 2, can handle his own without a problem and hopefully come up with some key hits should he be a guy that has a decent role with the Mets for the 2024 season. And final thing I'll say here about Justin Turner before we get close to wrapping up this video, he does have a really nice long-lasting relationship with David Stearns as well that should not be understated. David Stearns has went out of his way to try to land Turner multiple times during his time as Pobo there in Milwaukee, to the point where quotes were even saying that, he calls him Stearnsy. Like, there's a relationship there between both David Stearns and Justin Turner. Stearns has been enamored by the prospect of landing someone like Turner for the past couple of years before Turner ultimately ended up going back to LA and then signing with Boston. It's definitely a bat that he has pursued both at the trade deadline and offseason alike in years past. So Stearns already knows a lot about Justin Turner and his game, and they have that relationship. So that could potentially give the Mets a little bit of an upper hand here for someone like Turner. And for Justin, my question to him is, at the age of 39, is he still interested in being a for certain everyday player, or can he sit back a little bit and understand what his role would be here in Queens as someone who can help the youngsters at third base while also playing primarily the DH position? Is that something that he is interested in? Does he have interest in rekindling his relationship with the New York Mets and how that relationship was soured as he parted ways? A lot of questions remain on that front, and the same can be said with Urshela, because nothing is a lock, nothing is a guarantee. The Mets may go for an external option that has none of these guys, maybe like a Brian Anderson, who's coming off of an interesting year with Milwaukee in which he killed the Mets but also had some big slumps as well. Whatever it's going to be for the Mets at the third base position, expected to be on the shorter term end, and also expected to potentially be a guy in Turner who checks off 2 boxes versus 1 by handling third base but also handling the power, the contact ability at the DH position. So Mets fans, whoever you're a fan of, let me know your thoughts down below. How do you feel about the Mets potentially landing one of, if not both of, Justin Turner, Gio Urshela? And if you do not like these external options, what options do you think are best for this Mets team as they're trying to be very competitive for the 2024 season, but also want to see what they have in the young kids and Beatty Vientos alike? Because remember, David Stearns, Andy Green, these new hires, what do they not have that the previous regime had? That was understanding the players on the roster. Yes, you can look at the numbers in film, but Stearns, what the eye test, wants to see for himself what he has in Brett Beatty, what he has in Mark Vientos, and unfortunately, up until his injury now, Ronnie Mauricio, what he has in him. So it raises a lot of questions for Mauricio's future and the type of role he'll have with the club once he returns upon injury. But before we even get there, let's talk about Beatty, who's trying to really rekindle his confidence and be able to lift the ball at the MLB level and actually play competent defense at the hot corner. And Mark Vientos, he's been anything but competent with his defense at the hot corner. He's working with Francisco Lindor in his defensive game this offseason, and we know he has the power bat ability, even though he has a little bit of a loopy swing. How much of an impact can these guys have at the MLB level in 2024? Again, a lot of questions that we will soon find out answers, but one thing is certain. Initially not the case, is the case now. The Mets are in the market for a short-term third base fit in the free agent market. Whether that's going to be Turner or Scheller or someone else, we will soon find out. But Mets fans, let us know your thoughts. Again, stay tuned for consistent coverage, including a live show likely coming out later today around 8 or 8:30 p.m. Eastern to talk about more on Mets potential fits for third base, along with all the latest on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, as we are officially in Yamamoto watch this offseason as we await to see where the coveted MPB star will be taking his talents for the 2024 season and beyond. Thank you again, folks, and as always, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.